And as I approached being, turning 50, there was a lot surrounding that. I mean, it was right before the pandemic. I was feeling like, my nest was empty and I was kind of feeling like, is this it? Is this it? Is this gonna be, I got a long way to go. And if this is it, what am I gonna do?
What's up, sisters? Welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast. I'm Bria. I'm your host. If you're new, I'm so happy you are here. I'm your perimenopause and menopause sister, your holistic trainer, hormone specialist, translator of your female body. I'm a recovering people pleaser and hustle addict turned body whisperer and hormone decoder. And I am here to help you de-stress your body, decode what it is saying, become the CEO of it, and own your own health, energy, and weight loss again. This show is for you, the overwhelmed, overworked, underappreciated step woman who dreams of a body they feel strong, energetic, and sane in. The woman who knows that she shouldn't just wave the white aging flag and believes in a body and life of peace, love, and purpose. But you don't just know how to get there yet. So if you are stuck in your body, your energy, your life, you are in the right spot. Let's lean in and learn what our bodies are saying to us.
Hey, sisters. Welcome to this episode of the Period Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Bria Gad, your guide through the messiness of perimenopause to help you through healing and into weight release and energy gain. And today I have an extra special episode for you. Have you ever found that when you start trying to make changes, you suddenly get overwhelmed? Maybe it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose, or you just can't seem to get the traction that you want. You don't know where your motivation is. You don't understand why it feels so overwhelming, so confusing, so hard. I know that's something I have experienced over and over again, and I hear it from you guys too. Well, you're going to love this episode. I have an incredible woman on here. She is the host of the Redesigning Midlife podcast and your accountability partner, a motivational coach, a certified personal trainer who will entertain, educate, and encourage you in midlife and really teach you to stop focusing on the can'ts and start focusing on the cans. Welcome to no one other than Lesley Mcshane. Welcome, Lesley.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. And we're recording on a Monday, and it's been a great Monday.
Yes, it has.
Let's say that.
It is. I love your energy. I always love your energy. You're so positive. And I think although we can't always be positive, I do think perspective and mindset goes a long way. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Now, you do so many amazing things to support women. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you thrive in midlife and how you came to really help women with this piece of the puzzle?
Yeah. Well, you don't know about a thing until you are in it. And as I approached being, turning 50, there was a lot surrounding that. I mean, it was right before the pandemic. I was feeling like, my nest was empty and I was kind of feeling like, is this it? Is this it? Is this going to be, I got a long way to go. And if this is it, what am I going to do? So at this point, the pandemic had started. We were all at home and I needed to do something. I'm in freelance. And so my work dried up quite a bit. And I had a lot of time on my hands. And I was kind of like, well, what would I do a podcast about? And, you're going to focus on things that you're going through, that you're dealing with. And I was dealing with being in midlife and all the midlife issues. And I did a little market research. I talked to some of my friends and they were kind of like, yeah, we feel pretty overwhelmed by this phase of life too. So I started the podcast and talking about midlife issues. And as an athlete myself, I found that I gravitated toward talking about health and wellness and taking care of your fitness and nutrition as well as your mind during this
Mhm.
time of life. And it kind of, it kind of took off from there. I became a certified personal trainer. Um, I
Right.
found that a lot of my experience and being an athlete and being a coach of athletes, I found that I was able to motivate other women to start to take care of themselves in
Mm.
midlife if they haven't yet, because, if you don't start taking care of yourself in 10 years, are you going to have the independence that you want? I mean, envision yourself in 10 years and you haven't started taking care of yourself now. What are you going to be able to do
Mhm.
realistically? So those are the things that I talk about, and I have found a lot of passion in working with women around those issues.
Real quick, sister, a huge focus for me at the beginning of my perimenopause and hormone balance journey was making sure that I'm getting a good amount of really clean and micronutrients in my diet every day. And that's when I knew that I had to check out Organifi. I actually had a friend who was always on top of her gut health and always had so much energy tell me about Organifi a few years ago, and she swore by it. So I wanted to check out their greens powder, and it's a pretty amazing nutrient dense hormone supporting drink. It's organic, vegan, complete with adaptogens and 10 plus super greens. And when you drink it first thing in the morning, it packs a huge punch against afternoon cravings, energy dips, and really sets your gut health up. And there, like when it sets the gut health up, it really creates the foundation for your hormone support for each and every day, reducing the stress in your body. I love their original flavor. I just shake it over ice with 25 ounces of water in a shaker cup, and my body really begins to crave it now. It's my favorite. So I wanted to make sure if you were just looking for a way or a simple way to max out your micronutrients to support your hormone and gut health and get that energy like I am, go to Organifi.com and use code BRIA for 15% off of any item in the store. They don't just have greens, they have a huge selection of other amazing items, including a hormone specific drink that you can enjoy at night, especially if you have sweet or salty cravings, to make that difference. So again, that's Organifi, Organifi.com, and use code BRIA, BRIA, at the discount code at checkout for 15% off any item in the store. You won't regret it.
Those issues.
Oh, I love that. And I think it's the more we talk about it, the less taboo it becomes around midlife,
Sure.
right? And so I'm so grateful that you do talk about it. And when you're talking about this prioritization of self, I think this is a really big piece that we all struggle. We hear it, we see it written on t-shirts, we see it all the memes and everything out there. But what does that mean to you to begin to prioritize yourself in midlife?
Well, everybody knows they need to prioritize themselves.
Mhm.
Everybody has a plan to do it, but you
Mm,
just don't do it. No, uh, unless you are specific about carving out the
mhm,
time isn't going to be there. So it's very important. I mean, at any age, it's important to prioritize and prioritize yourself. But in midlife, specifically, we have been working for others. We've been taking care of children. We've been doing our job. We've been working towards
mhm,
retirement. We've been somebody's wife or partner and someone's daughter and taking care of them. And, we get put last on the list
mhm,
all the time, to the point where we aren't able to. We aren't able to do for others like we'd like to because we are so depleted. It's so important to prioritize yourself at least for 5 minutes. It doesn't take hours, but if you're able to do something for yourself first, I always say, take care of yourself first thing in the morning,
mhm,
and so you can take care of everybody else. So if you get up, um, I say, drink a glass of water before you drink your coffee in the morning. You might not think that
mhm,
that's prioritizing yourself, but that is prioritizing your health and getting
mhm,
benefits that you might not even be aware of. Get up, Meditate first thing in the morning. Come back to yourself, get still and quiet the noise around you so that you can go about your day. Um, Set intentions for your day. Make sure that you put yourself on your list of intentions so that you don't get lost during your day. And it's, 10 o'clock at night, you're falling asleep on the couch and you're like, oh, well, there goes today. I guess I'll take care of myself tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's very important to just take 5 minutes. And if you can build on that, then do 10. But it's just start with 5 and then build up from there because it is a practice. Prioritizing yourself is a practice that you have to get good at.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. And I actually think, a lot of the things we run into in midlife when we have prioritized everyone else first above us is that we don't even know what makes us happy to fulfill ourselves in this self-prioritization pocket.
Right.
So then we don't do it. But I think what you're saying here are really simple things like being still and, surrendering to some silence or meditation first thing in the morning. These are kind of the first steps to allowing you to rediscover that part of yourself.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying? They get that?
Or even rediscover yourself. I mean, we go through life. I mean, we started out as an individual, but we're given titles along the way. We're so-and-so's daughter, we're so-and-so's mother, so-and-so's partner. And we lose sight of who we are. And we get to this place. And this is why a lot of women suffer with an empty nest because they have been somebody else's something for so long and lived their lives through other people that, like you said, they don't know who they are anymore. And this is the time that you have to be still and ask yourself the hard questions, strip yourself of the titles and come back to who you are and remember what you enjoy to do, the things that are important to you, the things that make you happy, and what kind of legacy you want to leave.
Yeah. I love that without tying your worth to the things you do for other people, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that so much. So when we know that, and I should just say, I think another powerful part of stillness right now is that, and why it's such a great tool is because inside of us is so much chaos with these hormonal shifts. So the stillness is a really beautiful way to balance some of that out and swing your pendulum. But when you're knowing you've reached this midlife time, you know that you want to make changes and that you should make changes and that's your path. But then you go to start doing it and you get hit with a lot of overwhelm. What is that? Can you talk more about that? I've heard you talk about this before. I think it's so powerful. What is that? How does that hold women back, overwhelm?
Yeah, I think that we all get overwhelmed. Overwhelm is powerful, but at this time of life, I talk to women about taking care of their health and wellness. And that seems big and that seems charged. And I talk to a lot of people on the podcast about, how best to do that. And everybody I talk to is like, well, you should do it this way and you should do it this way. And this is the best way to do it. And think about this. And this causes this. And, when you're putting together, oh yeah, I'm going to go on this health journey. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to get educated. But then there's just so much. There's so much to learn and so much available. You're like, where do I start? I mean, what is the number one thing I should do? And there are so many things and so many avenues that you feel stuck. And a lot of times when we feel stuck, we just give up. We just stop. We don't do anything at all.
Yeah.
So, getting through this overwhelm, you just have to be easy on yourself. You have to give yourself some grace and you have to know that you just have to do one thing. You start with one thing. You don't have to start with all the things. All great trips start with going down the road for the first mile and then you go another mile and those things add up, until you finally get to where you want to be. So, you be easy with yourself. You give yourself grace. You start with one thing, and you start with an easy thing. You don't want
Mhm.
to start with a hard thing. I mean, you can say, I'm going to run a marathon. That's one
Mm.
thing, but you can't just say that. You have to start with, I'm going to go run for 15 minutes. And
Oh,
maybe
I like
even
it.
I'm going to run for 5 minutes,
Mhm.
you know? And you just have to build until
Yeah.
you aren't overwhelmed anymore, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, I love that. You're right. And sometimes this, I don't know if you agree, but this concept of overwhelm, it's really overarching like an umbrella. And underneath it, we see, things like fear of failure, or you mentioned imposter syndrome earlier. Like we can get
Sure.
overwhelmed by our own fears and the things that are getting in the way of us wanting to make these changes, and specific to health and wellness, which is sort of what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we live in a world of social media now. So we're
Mhm.
scrolling and we're looking at people who, we're comparing our introductory chapter or chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. You know,
Mhm.
we're looking at these people who have been doing this for years. You're
Mhm.
also looking at their highlight reel, you're looking at the
Yeah.
best parts of them, and all you see are the worst parts of you. So it's a it's a solo journey. You can take
Mhm.
inspiration from other people and you can try to want to be where other people are, but you should never compare yourself to where other people are. Compare yourself to
Yeah.
yourself. Compare yourself to how you were yesterday.
Yeah,
How
that's really, really
how far have you gotten
powerful.
since you Yeah,
That's You're right. That's a really powerful step for overwhelm. So compare yourself to who you were, just to yourself, and also just taking one step and make it an easy step, and maybe celebrate that step. I guess is that part of what you focus
absolutely.
on?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You definitely have to celebrate.
Mhm.
You have to set milestones for yourself, and once you get to a
Mhm.
milestone, recognize that you made it that far. It doesn't have
Mhm.
to be big, and you can't be reliant on other people to celebrate for you.
Mhm.
You have to celebrate yourself, however that is. You'll
Mhm.
be disappointed if you're always waiting for other people to celebrate you, so you have to celebrate yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. So, for someone who's as an athlete, did
Uh-huh.
you struggle with your health and wellness as you kind of entered into this midlife time? Did you have struggles there where you had to remotivate yourself or start with one thing?
I have always been a gym rat. I've been a cyclist for many, many years. So it has
Hmm.
been so ingrained in my life. I've never lacked for motivation to do
Hmm.
that. Of course, my body has changed
Hmm.
over my life and my ability to compete. I mean, one of my things is kind of like I'm not as competitive as I used to be. So that's one thing that
Hmm.
I have to work through. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm trying to remember what your question was because I went off on a
Oh,
tangent.
yeah, no, no, no. It happens to all of us. We'll call it menopause brain fog.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Hello. Got a lot of that going on over here.
No, when you were like, did you have any specific? So, I know you help people specifically in health and wellness and motivating them that way, and,
Uh-huh.
and that's something you've been strong in your whole life. Did you notice any shifting in your midlife with your health and wellness goals where you had to start over and feel overwhelmed, or because it was ingrained in the beginning, was it always solid for you?
It's always been there for me.
Hmm.
And it's always been more of my place to motivate other people to get moving.
Yeah.
I have always prided myself on being fit. And
Hmm.
I enjoy feeling strong. And I want everybody to feel that way. Everybody can feel that way. They have the power to feel that way. They
Yeah.
just have to decide and do it every single day. That's the
Yeah.
thing. You have to put in the work. You can't just say you're gonna do it and then do it Monday and then maybe next Monday and Wednesday. You have to set a plan and you have to take care of yourself because as I get older, I know that I'm ahead of the game by
Hmm.
having been active for as long as I have been.
Yeah.
Um, and I will enjoy probably, some freedom of movement where other people might not if they don't start taking care
Mhm.
of themselves. So I'm of the mind that, start working now toward your life in 10 and in 20 years, because
Yeah.
whatever you do now, however you invest in your health and wellness now is going to pay dividends in 10 and 20, 30 years. We got a
Yeah.
lot of life left to live past midlife.
Mhm. I love that. And I think, probably part of this motivation, you were saying at the beginning, like we kind of come into midlife, and I think a lot of us get motivated because we're finally at a point where we're so uncomfortable we need to change. We're like, oh,
Mhm.
we're having that, we're almost like challenged to change, and that usually lights a fire for a lot of people. So if someone's coming into midlife, they're struggling with feeling motivated and they want to make health and fitness changes. What do you recommend is the first one thing that they do, or do you have a process that helps them understand
Mm.
that?
Mm. That's a great question, because I am fascinated by motivation and what motivates people.
Mm,
There are two types of motivation. There's intrinsic and there's external. So,
yeah.
I offer external motivation to people all the time. This is why you should get moving, benefit that you're gonna have. And people listen, and that works. That can work for a while. That can get somebody fired up for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and then a lot of times it's like they need more. They need more. It's like a drug. They need more motivation,
Yeah.
motivate me. But what
Interesting.
you have to develop over time, if you haven't enough external motivation and you're moving, you have to build toward being able to motivate yourself, having intrinsic
Mhm.
motivation. And intrinsic
Mm.
motivation is where you have a reason why you want to do this thing. And
Mhm.
I think that's the most important thing, is to figure out why you want this thing. Why do you need to, lose some fat? Why do you want to
Mhm.
gain more muscle and become more flexible or have more balance or eat better or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Um, and you got to play like the why game with yourself. It's kind of like, okay, well, I
Mm.
have a surface why. Why? Because I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, why do you want to lose 10 pounds?
Mhm.
Um, because I'm gonna be going on vacation in a couple of weeks. Well, why do you wanna lose weight because you're going on vacation? Well, my grandkids are gonna be there, and I wanna be able to spend time with them down on the beach and run around with them on the sand. So
Mm.
you kinda dig down into what the
Yeah.
why is. So you have you have, "This is the thing I wanna do," but then you have to dig down into the why, and once you really know why you want something,
Mhm.
then you're much more likely to be able to motivate yourself to do it and to get there and to,
Yeah.
you know, develop a habit of what you need to do to get there.
Yes, I love that. I think that's a really powerful method that you gave us there. So it's like when you know you want something, in order to shift into the intrinsic motivation or the internal motivation, follow that bouncing ball of like why. And
Mhm.
another
Keep digging
question I was
backwards.
given once, yeah, another question I was
Mhm.
given once that really, helped me get there faster. Cause sometimes you're like, I don't know why, or you're a little lazy in your responses,
Yeah. Yeah.
was what happens if you don't? What's the plan if you don't? Like, if you don't lose that weight, what does that
Right.
look like for you? And sometimes I
Right.
think that can also help you get to that point of realizing, because I think a lot of midlife, and cutting through the overwhelm is really, it sounds like really finding that intrinsic motivation so that you can keep
Mhm.
going, so that you can
Yeah.
do the darn thing.
Yeah. 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 That's the key.
Yeah.
Start small and do one thing again, and then again, and then see kind of what mojo starts to
Hmm.
flow once you start doing that thing, and then it becomes a part of who you are. And when it becomes a
Hmm.
part of who you are and who you want to be, then there isn't any question of what you're going to do.
Yeah. And is there a time frame around that, you would say? Like, is there, for when you start one thing, is there a certain amount of time before that thing starts to become who you are typically?
Everybody's journey is different. Um,
Hmm.
you know, what do they say? It takes like, I don't know, 70 something days of doing something every day before it becomes a habit. I don't know.
Hmm.
Does it really? I don't know. I don't know what the scientific study is for that. I just know that you just do it. And then
Yeah.
when it happens for you.
Yeah. That's a good, I think when you do it
It's kind of like
to
saying how
change.
long is a piece of string? I don't know.
Yeah.
How long is a piece of
Yeah,
string?
that's a really good no, that's a good question. I think you're right. It's going to vary because I think change requires energy. So when all of a sudden the habit you're trying no longer takes energy, it's just innate in you, I think you're there at that point. And then
Yeah.
would you say
Yeah.
that's the time to layer on another habit? Like if the end goal is, if the big crazy goal is a marathon, and so the first one thing that you start with is running for 1 mile, would the next once that becomes comfortable, is it then you tack on your second mile? Is that next step in the process?
Sure. I mean, it's kind of like you don't want to reach one goal and then start another goal. You do want to stack. You want to have it
Mm,
stack a little bit. So once something becomes kind of familiar, um, and you know that you are going to do it, then add a little something to it and build it that way. And this is a
okay.
very common way that people say that you build habits. Um, so like my morning routine, I get up. The first thing I do is meditate. Once I got comfortable with I have to do that, then I added on, well, then I'm gonna sit down with a piece of paper and I'm gonna write down 5 things that I'm grateful for today.
Mm,
And I'm gonna stack that. And those two things are gonna live together. And then once I started doing both of those things, then it's kind of like, okay, and now I'm going to set my intentions for the day
mhm.
under what I'm grateful for. And then you become comfortable doing, and that becomes your block. I call it my morning routine. And it was all about building habits of each thing that I stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
So they became one thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
my morning workout is in there. Um, setting my intentions, uh, being grateful and meditating. That's my morning.
Mm,
Every morning.
I love that. And can I ask, do you still get overwhelmed?
Absolutely. I think that is I mean, overwhelm is an emotion. Um, just like worry. It's kind of like if you're that freaked out, if you're that overwhelmed, It it is an emotion. It's one of those things that you have to quiet from the top down. We've talked before about, a child having a tantrum and,
Yeah.
uh, you have to quiet the tantrum before you can get to the root of the cause. And the same is true with
Yeah.
overwhelm. It's kind of like you
Mm,
have to you have to calm the overwhelm before you can get to the root of what is overwhelming you and what
yeah.
steps can you take to start working through it? Because you can't work through it all at once. You have to take it piece by piece.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, that's amazing. So we've heard it here from Lesley Mcshane, how to address overwhelm, how to stay motivated. I love that. Pick one thing. These are the things that I'm really going to take away. Pick one, start with one thing, make it easy.
Make it easy.
And I called it, following the bouncing ball. But what was the term that you used when it goes to reverse engineering or going back to
It's called the
what's
why
motivating
game. The
you?
why game.
The why
Why?
game.
It's almost
I
like you
love
can
that.
it's almost like when
But
when your
why?
kids when your kids were toddlers. But why? Why is the sky blue? Well,
But
why is
why?
that? But why? Yeah. Just keep working
That's
backwards and asking
uh
yourself, Why? And it
yeah.
may take a minute. It's not like
Mhm.
you might have the answer just right off the top of your head. You might have to stop and meditate on it
Oh,
and think
yeah,
about it.
take that time for you. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that, Lesley. Well, thank you so much. How do our listeners learn more from you, find out what you have going on? What is the best way to connect with you today?
Well, thank you very much. And this has been so much fun. Um, all my stuff can be found on my website, and that is LesleyLMcshane.com. So, my podcast is there. I have a blog there, and then links to other things that I'm working on, and some that are in the works, and I won't mention them because they're not quite live yet, but everything will be at the website. So you can go check me out there or find me on Instagram at LesleyLMcshane.com. I just kind of living my midlife life there, my midlife life there. Wow, that's hard to say.
Yes, you are. And I will say, just watching your Instagram is motivating. So check out Lesley, go follow her now. Listen to the Redesigning Midlife podcast. It is really special and motivating, and it really talks about all things midlife. So thank you so much, Lesley, for being on. I can't wait to connect again soon.
Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it.
Yes. All right, sisters, go out and be more in your life and not just less on a scale. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Period Whisperer podcast. I want to encourage you to reach out to me directly and message me if there are topics or things you're struggling with so we can address those right where you are at. And of course, if you loved this episode, if you learned something, make sure to share it with your friends and please rate and review it wherever you get your podcasts.